Imagine being pulled over on a quiet road, only to discover that the most unexpected passenger is the one who holds your heart. What could be more astonishing than a speeding vet being stopped by a police officer, only to find his own beloved dog sitting right beside him? Stay with us as we unravel an emotional tale where loyalty, surprise, and the unbreakable bond between man and dog take center stage. On a brisk afternoon along a scenic country road, a routine traffic stop turned into a heart-stopping moment for Officer James Miller. Known for his strict adherence to the law, Officer Miller never imagined that his day would be dramatically altered by a twist of fate. As he approached a speeding vehicle, he immediately recognized the car, a familiar one driven by none other than Dr. Adam Reynolds, a well-respected veterinarian with a reputation for both medical skill and compassionate care. Yet nothing could have prepared Officer Miller for the shock that awaited him when he peered through the window. Sitting calmly in the passenger seat was a large, soulful-eyed dog, its presence radiating warmth and quiet dignity. To the astonishment of both men, it turned out that the dog was none other than Dr. Reynolds' own loyal companion, Max, a gentle creature known by the community as the heart of every rescue and a silent guardian in the vet's clinic. In that instant, the speeding violation gave way to a surprising reunion, as the officer and the vet exchanged stunned glances, both trying to process the irony and emotion of the moment. For Dr. Reynolds, the unexpected encounter was not just a brush with the law, it was a powerful reminder of the deep bond he shared with Max. The dog, usually a quiet presence in the background of his busy day, now assumed the role of the undeniable star of the story. As whispers of the incident spread through the local community, the tale of the vet's speeding run and the serendipitous discovery of Max in the passenger seat quickly captured the hearts of viewers, resonating especially with those who have cherished memories of their own loyal companions. Officer James Miller had spent most of his career patrolling the quiet country roads, enforcing traffic laws with a measured professionalism. That brisk afternoon, however, the familiar hum of his patrol car's engine was disrupted by an unusual sight, a speeding vehicle with its driver clearly in a hurry. As he activated his lights and pulled the car over, he couldn't help but notice that the vehicle bore the insignia of a local veterinary clinic. The car belonged to Dr. Adam Reynolds, a well-known veterinarian whose reputation for both expertise and heartfelt animal care was widely recognized in the community. James approached the car with his usual routine in mind, ready to issue a citation for speeding. However, when he peered through the windshield, he was met with an unexpected image. Sitting in the passenger seat, looking calm and dignified, was a large dog with soulful eyes that immediately caught his attention. It was clear that this was no ordinary dog. Its presence exuded a sense of loyalty and warmth that hinted at a deep, personal connection with the driver. Dr. Reynolds stepped out of the car as soon as the officer signaled him to do so. The veterinarian, known for his kind smile and gentle manner, appeared momentarily startled by the interruption. His eyes then fell on the dog beside him. "Officer Miller," Dr. Reynolds greeted politely. "I'm sorry about the speeding. I lost track of time on my way back from an emergency call." Yet, as he glanced at his companion in the passenger seat, his voice softened. "And I'm even more surprised to see you here. Max is my constant companion. He helps me stay focused during long shifts at the clinic." James couldn't hide his own astonishment. For him, it was not every day that he encountered a situation where a routine traffic stop turned into a moment of personal connection. "Dr. Reynolds, I have to admit I wasn't expecting to see your dog riding shotgun," Officer Miller said with a wry smile. "I've heard a lot about your dedication to animals, but seeing Max here so calm and collected, it's almost like he's a co-pilot on your rounds." The exchange, light and genuine, quickly diffused the tension that normally accompanies a speeding violation. As the conversation continued, Dr. Reynolds explained that Max wasn't merely a pet. He was an integral part of his daily life and work at the veterinary clinic. "Max has been with me for years," Dr. Reynolds shared. "He's seen every bit of joy and sorrow at the clinic, and his presence reminds me why I do what I do. When I'm stressed or overwhelmed, he's always there to offer comfort without a word. Officer Miller listened, his initial duty-driven mindset gradually giving way to genuine curiosity and empathy. He asked about Max's behavior and how the dog had come to be such a significant part of Dr. Reynolds' life. In a relaxed tone, Dr. Reynolds recounted a story from his early days in veterinary school, a time when he rescued a stray pup from near a busy highway. That puppy had grown up to become Max, a living symbol of the compassionate care he hoped to provide to every creature that crossed his path. The conversation took an unexpectedly personal turn when Officer Miller, who prided himself on his own commitment to duty and community, admitted that he, too, had moments when unexpected encounters reshaped his perspective on life. "I've always believed in enforcing the law," James said, "but today, seeing you and Max reminds me that there's more to our work than just following orders. Sometimes, it's about connecting with people and animals in a way that restores our faith in what we do." His words resonated with Dr. Reynolds, who nodded appreciatively, acknowledging that every profession has moments when compassion must override routine. As the two men wrapped up the traffic stop, Dr. Reynolds receiving a warning for his speeding, and Officer Miller making a note of the incident, the atmosphere was noticeably warmer than it would have been under ordinary circumstances. They exchanged business cards and agreed to stay in touch, both feeling that this unusual encounter had forged a mutual respect that transcended their official roles. Later that day, word of the traffic stop spread quietly among the local community. Neighbors and colleagues of Dr. Reynolds commented on how rare it was to see a professional so unruffled by a routine stop, and many speculated that the presence of Max was the secret behind his calm demeanor. At the veterinary clinic, patients, owners, and staff alike remarked on the comforting presence of Max, a dog who not only provided companionship, but seemed to embody the spirit of care that defined the clinic. For Officer Miller, the encounter left an indelible mark. He found himself reflecting on the unexpected intersections between duty and compassion, a reminder that even in enforcing the law, one can encounter moments that reveal the deeper, human side of life. In the days that followed, he would often mention the case of Dr. Reynolds and Max as a turning point, an example of how the bond between a man and his dog can bridge the gap between two worlds. In the days following the unexpected traffic stop, both Officer James Miller and Dr. Adam Reynolds found themselves navigating new challenges that extended far beyond the initial speeding violation. The encounter, marked by the gentle presence of Max D. Dr. Reynolds' beloved companion, had sparked curiosity and discussion in the community. Yet it also began to reveal unforeseen complications in both their professional lives. For Dr. Reynolds, the incident, which had been widely discussed among his colleagues and in local circles, was not merely an embarrassing traffic stop. Instead, it opened up a debate within his veterinary clinic about the importance of work-life balance and the integration of personal passion with professional responsibilities. While many patients' owners admired his dedication and the calm reassurance Max provided, a few long-standing staff members expressed concern over his recent speeding infraction. One senior technician, Mr. Carter, privately remarked, "Dr. Reynolds has always been our pillar of compassion, but if he's not careful, even small mistakes can ripple into bigger issues." This subtle tension forced Reynolds to reassess his daily routine, and he soon found himself caught between spending extra time with Max, which he believed grounded him emotionally, and managing the demands of a busy clinic where every minute counted. Meanwhile, Officer Miller's superiors began to take notice of his uncharacteristic openness following the stop. Although his compassionate response to the incident earned him praise from some, others in his department questioned whether his emotional involvement might compromise his judgment. During a routine departmental meeting, a senior officer chided, "We're here to enforce the law, not to indulge in personal sentiment. While it's fine to appreciate a good dog story, we must not let our emotions interfere with our duty." This reprimand, though delivered in a measured tone, left Miller conflicted. He believed that his experience had expanded his perspective on community service, yet he also felt pressure to conform to the department's more traditional, stoic approach. This internal struggle set the stage for an evolving discussion among his peers about the balance between strict law enforcement and genuine human connection. As both men worked through their respective challenges, the media attention surrounding the case grew. Local newspapers and social media channels buzzed with the unusual story. A respected veterinarian pulled over for speeding, only to reveal his own dog as an unexpected co-pilot. Olivia Reed, the dedicated investigative journalist who had first reported on the incident, found that her story had taken on a life of its own. While many praised the touching display of loyalty and the bond between man and dog, some critics began to question whether the incident was being overhyped. "It's just a speeding ticket, after all," one online commentator noted dismissively. Yet the overwhelming public sentiment remained positive, and numerous community members shared personal anecdotes about how their pets had helped them through challenging times. This feedback fueled a larger conversation about the transformative power of companion animals, a topic that would soon influence both law enforcement policies and veterinary practices in the area. Back at the veterinary clinic, the incident also led to a surprising internal shift. Dr. Reynolds began to host informal pet appreciation sessions for his staff and clients, sharing stories about Max's calming influence during stressful times. These sessions, initially intended as a way to lighten the mood after the speeding incident, soon evolved into a regular forum where patients and community members discussed the healing power of animal companionship. The sessions not only boosted morale, but also helped Dr. Reynolds reinforce the clinic's commitment to compassionate care, an ethos that would become his signature in the community. Officer Miller, inspired by his own experience, started a modest initiative within his precinct aimed at fostering positive relationships between law enforcement and local pet owners. He organized community events in which officers could meet residents in informal settings, bringing along their own pets, if available, and engaging in friendly, non-confrontational discussions. These events, though small in scale, gradually began to change the public's perception of the police, emphasizing a more empathetic and community-oriented approach to public safety. However, not all new conflicts were resolved so amicably. A segment of the community and some traditionalists within the police force continued to argue that the incident was trivial, questioning whether such displays of emotion were appropriate in a professional setting. Debates erupted in local town hall meetings, where some residents expressed concern that focusing on personal stories might distract from the essential work of maintaining public order. Yet, for many, the heartfelt encounter between Dr. Reynolds, Officer Miller, and Max served as a powerful reminder that sometimes humanity and compassion can transform even the most routine interactions. As the days turned into weeks, both Dr. Reynolds and Officer Miller found that the repercussions of that fateful traffic stop extended far beyond their initial roles. Their personal journeys, marked by a blend of professional challenges, public scrutiny, and a deepened appreciation for the bond between man and animal, had begun to reshape local attitudes towards both veterinary care and law enforcement. In this evolving landscape, the story of a speeding vet and his loyal dog was fast becoming a symbol of how unexpected encounters can spark meaningful change in the way communities relate to one another. In the days following the routine traffic stop, whispers about the unusual encounter began to ripple through the community. Although most people recalled the surprising image of Dr. Adam Reynolds with his loyal canine companion in the passenger seat, one detail lingered in Officer James Miller's mind, a detail that refused to be forgotten. As he reviewed the incident report in his office, something about the dog's collar caught his eye. Engraved on the metal tag was a set of initials he hadn't noticed before, JM. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be? Memories flooded back of a beloved dog he had lost years ago. A dog he had once considered irreplaceable, whose absence had haunted him through long, lonely nights on patrol. Determined to find answers, Officer Miller began poring over old case files and personal mementos. His mind drifted back to a time, nearly a decade ago, when his faithful companion, a spirited golden retriever named Max, had vanished under mysterious circumstances. The loss had left an indelible void in his heart and his career. Though he had eventually come to terms with the loss as a tragic accident, a small, persistent hope had always whispered that Max might still be out there somewhere. Now, confronted with the uncanny initials on the collar in Dr. Reynolds's car, Miller's pulse raced with both disbelief and longing. Unable to contain his mounting curiosity, Officer Miller decided to visit Dr. Reynolds at the veterinary clinic. Under the guise of routine follow-up questions regarding the traffic stop and the vet's driving record, he gently inquired about the dog. Dr. Reynolds, who had grown quite fond of his four-legged companion, explained that the dog, known to him as Max, had wandered into the clinic's parking lot one rainy night. "I found him shivering and alone," the vet recalled with a soft smile, "and he just wouldn't leave me alone after that. He followed me home, and I eventually learned he had no identification, so I took him in." Dr. Reynolds's tone was warm and reflective, but it lacked any mention of a previous owner, a detail that struck a chord with Officer Miller. A chill ran down Miller's spine as he recalled the unique collar tag. Hesitantly, he asked, "Dr. Reynolds, did you ever check the tag on Max's collar?" Dr. Reynolds paused, frowning slightly. "I assumed it was just a generic tag. I never really looked closely at it." "Why?" Miller's voice was low, heavy with emotion, as he reached out and gently requested to see the collar. With a puzzled expression, Dr. Reynolds produced the dog's collar. There it was, the engraved metal tag, now unmistakably clear, J.M. For a moment, the room seemed to shrink around them. The initials that had haunted Officer Miller's thoughts were now undeniably real, a tangible link to a past he had long mourned. Unable to hold back his emotions any longer, Miller's eyes filled with tears. That's my dog," he whispered, the words barely audible. "Dr." Reynolds's face shifted from confusion to shock as he listened to Miller recount the memories of his lost companion. In that poignant moment, the veterinarian recalled a hazy recollection from years earlier, a stray he had found on a stormy night, with a collar that bore the initials J. Decisive, he had assumed the dog had been abandoned by someone unknown, never suspecting that fate had brought him a missing piece of someone else's heart. The revelation hit both men hard. For Officer Miller, it was as if the past had come alive before his eyes. His long-lost Maxans, whose disappearance had once filled him with grief, now sat faithfully in the passenger seat of a speeding car. For Dr. Reynolds, the shock was twofold. Not only had he unwittingly taken in someone else's cherished companion, but he also realized that his own act of kindness had inadvertently reunited a man with a piece of his lost soul. In the ensuing days, the news of the unexpected reunion spread rapidly through the community, capturing the hearts of many. Social media buzzed with the hashtag #ChanMaxReturns, and local news outlets featured heartwarming segments on the miraculous twist of fate that had reunited Officer Miller with his beloved dog. Both men found themselves at the center of an emotional narrative that transcended the mundane details of a speeding ticket. Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds arranged to meet privately to discuss how this reunion might come about. With humility and respect, Dr. Reynolds expressed regret for the oversight and offered to help Miller reclaim his dog. "I had no idea he belonged to you," the vet said, voice thick with sincerity. "Max has been a blessing in my life, and if returning him to you can bring you peace, I'm more than willing to do whatever it takes." Moved by Reynolds's genuine concern, Miller agreed to a careful reunion, filled with cautious hope. When the day of the reunion finally arrived, emotions ran high. In a quiet park, away from the public eye, Officer Miller reunited with Max. The moment was filled with tearful joy and a deep sense of closure. Max, as if understanding the gravity of the moment, nuzzled against Miller, his tail wagging gently, a silent acknowledgement of a bond that had survived time and uncertainty. The twist in the tale, where fate had woven the lives of a compassionate vet and a dedicated police officer through the mysterious journey of a lost dog, became a powerful testament to the resilience of love and loyalty. The incident, which began with a routine traffic stop, had blossomed into an emotional reunion that rekindled hope and healed old wounds. In the days following the heart-stopping revelation, the lives of Officer James Miller and Dr. Adam Reynolds, already intertwined by that fateful traffic stop, underwent profound changes as both men came to terms with the unexpected reunion and its emotional weight. The discovery that the dog in the passenger seat, Maxie, might actually be the long-lost companion of Officer Miller, sent shockwaves through both their personal worlds, forcing each to confront buried memories and reevaluate their professional priorities. For Officer Miller, the revelation was a deeply personal blow that shook the foundations of his stoic demeanor. In his cramped office at the precinct, he pored over old photographs and mementos of his once-beloved dog, a golden retriever whose absence had haunted him for years. Each memory brought with it a bittersweet mix of grief and longing. "I always thought I had come to terms with losing Max," Miller confided to a trusted colleague during a late-night debrief, his voice low and thick with emotion. "But seeing those initials on the collar, it's like the past is knocking on my door again." This private moment of vulnerability was a turning point for Miller, who, until now, had maintained a strictly professional exterior. The rediscovery of his lost companion forced him to accept that his emotional investment in his work was not a weakness, but rather a testament to his commitment to the people and animals he cared about. Meanwhile, Dr. Reynolds found himself caught in a complex web of responsibility and guilt. Although he had taken in Max with the best of intentions, his inadvertent role in reuniting the dog with his rightful owner left him with a heavy conscience. In the quiet solitude of his veterinary clinic, Reynolds wrestled with a sense of remorse. "I rescued this pup because I believed every animal deserved a second chance," he murmured during a reflective moment in his office. "But I never imagined that in doing so, I would be unwittingly holding on to someone else's cherished memory." Dr. Reynolds soon began receiving supportive messages from colleagues and patients who praised his compassionate nature. Yet, the responsibility of returning Max to Officer Miller weighed on him. He arranged a private meeting with Miller, determined to do right by both the dog and the man who had lost him. Their conversation was fraught with emotion. Miller's eyes glistened with tears as he recounted the pain of losing his friend, while Reynolds expressed heartfelt regret for the oversight. "I never meant to keep you apart from Max," Reynolds said, voice choked with sincerity, "and I'm truly sorry for any part I played in that loss." The conversation, marked by mutual respect and understanding, helped both men begin the healing process. Beyond their personal adjustments, the unexpected twist rippled out into the broader community and within their respective professions. At the precinct, younger officers admired Miller's courage to show vulnerability in an environment that often prized emotional restraint. In informal briefings, several officers noted that Miller's willingness to share his story had sparked a new dialogue within the department. "Seeing him open up about Max has made me realize that our work isn't just about enforcing the law. It's about protecting our community in every sense," one young officer remarked, his tone reflective. This subtle shift in departmental culture began to bridge the gap between traditional law enforcement and a more compassionate, community-oriented approach to public service. At Dr. Reynolds' clinic, the story of the speeding vet and his unexpected passenger soon became a topic of conversation among staff and clients. While many lauded the reunion as a touching testament to the unbreakable bond between a man and his dog, a few expressed concern about how such personal matters could impact professional reputation. In response, Reynolds organized an internal discussion with his team to explore ways to integrate personal passion with professional duty. "Our experiences with animals define us as caregivers," he explained during a staff meeting. "And while it's important to maintain professionalism, we must never lose sight of the compassion that brought us into this field." His words resonated, inspiring his team to embrace a more balanced approach, one that celebrated empathy without compromising the quality of care. Community reactions further underscored the profound impact of the twist. Neighbors and local supporters, upon hearing the news of the reunion, shared stories of their own lost pets and personal hardships. Social media buzzed with heartfelt posts under hashtags like #Max Returns and Lost and Found Love, creating an outpouring of support for both Miller and Reynolds. Local news segments highlighted the emotional journey of the officer and the vet, framing their reunion as a symbol of hope and redemption in a world that sometimes feels indifferent to personal loss. In private, both men began to embrace the unexpected turn of fate as an opportunity for growth. Officer Miller, with Max once again by his side, started to reconnect with his community on a deeper level. He began participating in community outreach programs, sharing his story, and encouraging others to open up about their experiences of loss and recovery. Dr. Reynolds, and for his part, continued to advocate for compassionate care, using the incident as a reminder that sometimes the most meaningful moments in life arise from unplanned encounters. As the days turned into weeks, the bittersweet reunion of Max with his original owner became a catalyst for personal healing and professional evolution. Both Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds found themselves transformed by the experience, each recognizing that the true measure of success was not in the absence of mistakes, but in the courage to mend what had been broken. Their story, celebrated quietly among friends and loudly in community gatherings, stood as a powerful reminder that even in the most unexpected moments, the bonds of love and loyalty have the power to heal old wounds and forge new beginnings. As the initial shock of the unexpected reunion began to settle, new layers of complexity emerged, weaving additional subplots into the narrative and testing the resolve of everyone involved. The revelation that Officer James Miller's long-lost dog, Max, was now in the care of Dr. Adam Reynolds added unforeseen challenges that extended far beyond the simple traffic stop. The once light-hearted encounter quickly evolved into a multifaceted drama with personal, professional, and community dimensions converging around the central figure, Max. One emerging subplot centered on the internal dynamics within the police department. Although Officer Miller's emotional response had earned him praise from some, it also sparked a debate among his colleagues about professionalism versus compassion. Senior officers, wary of setting a precedent that might encourage emotional entanglement in routine duties, questioned whether such displays could compromise objectivity on the job. In a series of hushed meetings, some veterans argued that personal feelings should never interfere with duty, while a growing number of younger officers, inspired by Miller's openness, began advocating for a more human-centered approach to law enforcement. This internal conflict not only challenged departmental norms, but also prompted a broader discussion on how police work could incorporate community engagement and emotional intelligence without sacrificing efficiency. At the same time, Dr. Reynolds found himself grappling with the repercussions of his inadvertent role in reuniting Max with his former owner. While many in his veterinary clinic applauded his compassionate act, a few senior staff members expressed concerns over potential liabilities and the impact on the clinic's reputation. Rumors began circulating among colleagues that the speeding infraction might attract unwanted legal attention, and some clients even questioned whether his focus on personal pet care was detracting from his medical responsibilities. Dr. Reynolds, always the idealist, tried to balance his dedication to both his patients and his own personal life. However, the growing media attention placed him under a spotlight that made every decision subject to public scrutiny. In private discussions with trusted peers, Reynolds admitted, "I rescued Max because I believe in the healing power of unconditional love, but I never expected that this decision would open up a whole new set of challenges, both for me and for the community." This internal struggle added another dimension to the narrative, one that challenged him to redefine what it meant to be both a veterinarian and a compassionate human being. Meanwhile, Max, the central character whose presence had already transformed the lives of both the officer and the vet, began to reveal subtle behaviors that hinted at his mysterious past. Neighbors and regular visitors to the clinic started noticing that Max would sometimes pause, as if he were listening to distant sounds, a bark or a familiar whistle, and then look longingly in a specific direction, as though recalling a forgotten memory. These behaviors fueled speculation among the community. Could Max be conveying more than mere companionship? Some animal behaviorists even suggested that he might be experiencing a form of post-traumatic stress, a remnant of the time he had been separated from his original owner. This subplot, while delicate, underscored the idea that the bond between a dog and its owner could transcend time and loss, adding emotional depth and mystery to the story. Social media further amplified these emerging narratives. Olivia Reed, the ever-curious investigative journalist, picked up on the community's fascination with Max's story. Her blog posts and video segments began to document not just the surprising traffic stop, but also the evolving public sentiment. Hashtags such as Max Returns and Love Reunited trended locally, as people shared their own stories of lost and found pets. This online movement spurred community-driven events, including impromptu pet meetups and charity drives, all aimed at celebrating the bond between humans and animals. However, the heightened media attention also attracted criticism from some quarters. Detractors argued that the focus on a sentimental story was trivializing more serious issues. These conflicting views created a digital battleground, challenging the community to balance heartfelt celebration with critical analysis of broader social concerns. Furthermore, an unexpected subplot emerged from within the community outreach programs that Officer Miller had begun initiating. Inspired by his personal journey, Miller organized small neighborhood events where police officers mingled with residents in informal settings, often bringing their own pets along. These gatherings, while designed to build trust, soon encountered logistical and interpersonal challenges. Some traditionalists within the department resisted the shift toward a more community-oriented approach, citing concerns over maintaining discipline and order. At the same time, a few local residents expressed discomfort with blurring the lines between law enforcement and personal relationships. These tensions prompted a series of roundtable discussions, forcing both sides to confront their preconceptions about authority and vulnerability. In the midst of these converging subplots, the personal toll on both Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds became increasingly apparent. Miller, haunted by the memories of his lost companion and now emboldened by the reunion, struggled with balancing his professional duties and his reawakened sense of personal loss. Meanwhile, Reynolds wrestled with guilt over inadvertently delaying the return of a dog that was so deeply missed, even as he recognized that his actions had ultimately brought hope back into Miller's life. Their intertwined journeys underscored a poignant truth, that sometimes personal healing and professional responsibility are inextricably linked, and that the path to reconciliation is often paved with unexpected challenges. As the days turned into weeks, all these additional challenges and subplots coalesced into a broader narrative, one that was as much about community transformation and environmental symbolism as it was about individual redemption. The story of a speeding vet and a compassionate police officer had grown into a complex tapestry, woven together by the threads of love, loss, and the enduring power of a dog named Max. In facing these new challenges, every character was forced to question old assumptions, reevaluate priorities, and ultimately embrace the idea that unexpected reunions can open doors to profound change. In the days that followed the startling traffic stop and the heartfelt reunion over Max, both Officer James Miller and Dr. Adam Reynolds found themselves navigating a labyrinth of emotions and interpersonal challenges that extended far beyond their initial encounter. What began as a singular moment of surprise soon evolved into a series of interactions, each laden with inner conflicts and subtle shifts in perspective, revealing how deeply personal experiences can reshape professional identities. Officer Miller, whose world had long been governed by the rules and procedures of law enforcement, now found his emotions at odds with the department's traditionally stoic ethos. During routine briefings at the precinct, Miller's colleagues began to notice a gentler side emerging in him. In a private conversation in the dimly lit break room, a young officer remarked, "Miller's openness about his past with Max has made me realize that our work isn't just about citations and arrests. It's about connecting with the community on a human level." Yet not everyone embraced this change, braced this. Several seasoned officers expressed concern that such vulnerability could blur the lines of professionalism. One senior officer confided, "We have a duty to be impartial and firm. I worry that too much sentimentality might affect our judgment on the job." This internal debate left Miller torn between adhering to departmental traditions and embracing the transformative power of personal loss and reunion. At the veterinary clinic, Dr. Reynolds was not immune to similar conflicts, though he was proud of his compassionate approach, evidenced by his decision to always keep Max by his side. The attention brought on by the incident began to create tension among his staff. During a staff meeting one afternoon, a longtime nurse quietly expressed her concerns. "While I admire Dr. Reynolds' commitment to our patients, I worry that mixing personal life with our work might lead to distractions or even liability issues. Doctor. Reynolds listened intently, his brow furrowed as he considered the implications. Later that day, in a quiet corner of his office, he reflected, Max has always been a source of strength for me, but I must ensure that this bond does not compromise the trust that my patients place in me. His struggle to balance personal affection with professional responsibility became a recurring theme in his daily interactions as he worked to reassure his team that compassion and competence could coexist. The emotional dilemmas extended into interactions between the two worlds, represented by Miller and Reynolds. In a chance encounter at a local community event, a fundraiser for pet adoption, both men found themselves seated at the same table. Over light conversation, they discovered that they shared not only a love for animals, but also a deep-seated belief in the importance of human connection. Miller recalled, "Seeing Max again stirred something in me that I thought I had lost a long time ago." Reynolds nodded, adding, "I often wonder if our pets are the silent healers who remind us to care about what truly matters." Their dialogue, although warm and congenial, was tinged with an unspoken acknowledgement of the emotional risks they had both taken by opening up their private lives to public scrutiny. Meanwhile, community reactions further complicated these interactions. Social media platforms buzzed with varied opinions. While many praised the touching reunion as proof that personal bonds can transcend professional boundaries, others remained skeptical. In local online forums, heated debates erupted. One comment read, "It's heartwarming, but are we romanticizing a traffic stop?" While another argued, "This story shows that genuine care and loyalty can change lives, even in unexpected ways." Such mixed reactions left both Miller and Reynolds to grapple with the challenge of maintaining their authenticity while facing a public that was quick to judge. Even within the families of those involved, emotions ran high. Dr. Reynolds' spouse, who had quietly supported his dual life as a dedicated vet and a compassionate pet lover, expressed concerns during a late-night conversation. "I worry sometimes that the attention on Max might overshadow the real work you do," she admitted softly. "But then I see how much he means to you and to our clients, and I know that your heart is in the right place." Her words provided Reynolds with both comfort and a reminder of the delicate balance he needed to maintain between personal fulfillment and professional duty. In parallel, Officer Miller's own family experienced an unexpected shift in dynamics. His partner, who had always admired his steadfast nature, began to see a more tender side of him, a side that recalled the pain of losing a cherished companion and the subsequent courage to reopen old wounds. Over dinner one evening, Miller's partner said, "I see you change and I'm proud of you, but I also worry about the toll these emotions might take on you." Miller, pausing before answering, replied, "I've learned that vulnerability is not a weakness. It's part of who I am, and it's helping me connect with our community on a deeper level." This intimate exchange underscored the personal growth that both individuals were undergoing as they slowly redefined what it meant to be a protector and a caregiver. Through all these complex interactions, a recurring theme emerged: the realization that personal healing and professional duty were not mutually exclusive. Both Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds were learning to navigate a world where the lines between the personal and the professional blurred, a world in which genuine human connections could lead to transformative change. Their journeys, filled with moments of doubt, introspection, and ultimately acceptance, served as a powerful reminder that true strength often lies in embracing one's vulnerabilities. In the end, the unexpected reunion with Max had not only reunited a man with his lost companion, but had also ignited a broader conversation about compassion, duty, and the enduring power of personal bonds. As each day passed, the community and those within it began to see that the heart's capacity to heal could indeed transform lives and even reshape institutions, if only they had the courage to let it. As the story of the unexpected traffic stop and the emotional reunion with Max continued to circulate, subtle yet unsettling hints began to surface that suggested there was more beneath the surface than a simple case of speeding and serendipity. These new elements gradually intensified the tension and raised questions about hidden motives, unspoken alliances, and the possibility that this incident might be part of a larger, unexplored narrative. It started when a few days after the reunion, Officer James Miller received an anonymous envelope at the precinct. Inside, there were several faded photographs and a cryptic note that read, "Not all is as it seems. Look deeper." One of the photos showed a familiar, albeit blurred, image of Max, but in a setting that Miller didn't recognize, a suburban park instead of Dr. Reynolds's clinic. The note hinted at secrets from Max's past, suggesting that his journey might have been more complicated than anyone had assumed. Miller's mind raced. Had Max been through more than one home? Was there another chapter in his life that remained hidden? At the same time, Dr. Adam Reynolds began receiving mysterious text messages on his clinic phone late at night. These messages, sent from an unidentified number, contained snippets of information that implied someone was monitoring his movements. One message read, "Your companion carries more than just love. He holds memories." Another warned, "The truth about Max may unravel more than you expect." Though initially dismissed as an attempt at mischief or even a marketing ploy, the tone and persistence of the texts unsettled Reynolds, forcing him to wonder if there were ulterior motives behind the renewed media attention surrounding Max. Local online forums and social media groups that had been abuzz since the traffic stop took on a more conspiratorial tone. Some users speculated that the reunion was not a random act of fate, but perhaps a deliberate twist orchestrated by an unknown party to draw attention to deeper issues, possibly even to test public sentiment about the blending of personal lives with professional roles. Hashtags such as Max Mystery and Hidden Tales of Max began trending locally, with users sharing theories about secret pasts, mysterious adoptions, and even corporate interests that might benefit from a heartwarming narrative. Meanwhile, a well-known local blogger who focused on police and community affairs published an article questioning whether the emotional reunion might be part of an orchestrated effort to improve the police department's public image. The blogger suggested that recent shifts in community policing strategies were aiming to humanize officers by highlighting their softer, more empathetic sides. Perhaps this story is more than an accident of fate, the article mused. Could it be that someone, somewhere, is using Max's tale to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the community? The article added fuel to an already fervent public debate, leaving many to wonder if there was a hidden agenda behind the seemingly benign encounter. Adding to the intrigue, during a routine follow-up call to Dr. Reynolds regarding a scheduled appointment, a receptionist mentioned that a former patient had inquired about a missing dog from years past, a dog with striking similarities to Max. When Reynolds checked his records, he discovered no prior mention of such a case, leading him to suspect that perhaps Max's story was intertwined with unresolved past events that had been quietly buried. This unexpected lead hinted that Max might not have been a stray at all, but rather a lost pet with a history of separation and possibly even an earlier life with a different owner, raising new questions about how he had come to be with Reynolds in the first place. Officer Miller, now haunted by the mysterious envelope and the evocative note, decided to discreetly consult with a trusted colleague in the department who had a background in investigations. Together, they began cross-referencing the photographs and the clues with archived records of missing pets in the area. The preliminary results were inconclusive, but a faint pattern began to emerge. There were sporadic mentions of a dog matching Max's description in reports spanning several years. This clue hinted at a possibility that Max might have been lost and found multiple times, his history obscured by time and bureaucratic oversight. As these subtle yet significant hints continued to accumulate, the atmosphere in the community grew more charged. Public meetings became livelier, with residents demanding not only updates on the police's progress, but also an investigation into Max's mysterious past. During one such meeting at a local community center, a longtime resident declared, "I remember a dog just like him from my childhood, lost, wandering, and full of memories. It makes me wonder if fate has a way of bringing our past back to us." The growing uncertainty and the cascade of new, interconnected clues elevated the stakes of the narrative. What had begun as an unusual traffic stop and a touching reunion was now evolving into a multi-layered mystery, a puzzle that involved personal loss, unresolved histories, and perhaps even orchestrated efforts to manipulate public perception. The convergence of these elements set the stage for an explosive revelation, one that promised to upend everything the community thought they knew about Max and the lives intertwined with his story. With each anonymous message, each cryptic photograph, and each whispered theory online, the tension escalated. Both Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds felt the weight of a mystery that was growing larger than either of them alone. The question that loomed over every conversation was clear: who was truly behind the enigma of Max's past, and what secrets would unravel if they looked deeper? In the weeks following the surprising traffic stop and the heartfelt reunion, the story of Officer James Miller, Dr. Adam Reynolds, and Max began to weave into the fabric of the local community, deepening relationships and prompting new subplots that enriched the narrative far beyond the original encounter. As more details emerged and both men navigated the aftermath, their personal journeys and professional worlds began to intersect in unexpected ways. At the police department, Officer Miller's open display of emotion during the traffic stop gradually shifted the internal dynamics. Younger officers, inspired by his vulnerability and willingness to connect on a personal level, started sharing their own stories about lost pets and family hardships. In informal briefings and after-shift gatherings, they discussed how personal experiences could humanize law enforcement and help build trust with the community. Seeing Miller talk about his lost companion opened my eyes, one junior officer confessed during a quiet moment at the precinct. It made me realize that our job isn't just about enforcing rules, it's about understanding the people we serve. This growing camaraderie sparked subtle changes in the department, where discussions of empathy began to emerge alongside traditional police training. However, these shifts were not universally accepted. Some veteran officers remained cautious, warning that too much emotion might cloud judgment. The internal debates highlighted a division, a tension between long-held traditions and a budding, more compassionate approach that set the stage for further evolution in community policing. Simultaneously, at Dr. Reynolds' veterinary clinic, the impact of the encounter with Officer Miller and Max began to resonate with both staff and clients. The story, now circulating on local social media and in neighborhood chatter, led to an outpouring of positive testimonials about the clinic's caring environment. Clients remarked on how the presence of Max, a loyal, gentle dog, seemed to embody the spirit of the practice. In weekly staff meetings, Dr. Reynolds encouraged his team to share personal anecdotes about their own pets, fostering an atmosphere where empathy and professionalism coexisted. "Our patients trust us not just with their health, but with their hearts," he told his team. "And sometimes that means letting a little of our personal lives shine through." This initiative not only bolstered staff morale, but also enhanced client relationships, as many pet owners found comfort in knowing that the clinic valued genuine connection. Outside the immediate circles of law enforcement and the clinic, the community began to organize events that celebrated these personal bonds. Inspired by the touching reunion, local residents initiated pet and community gatherings in the town park. At these events, police officers, veterinarians, and local families came together with their pets to share stories and enjoy informal activities. These meetups, often characterized by laughter, heartfelt conversations, and communal support, helped to further bridge the gap between the authorities and the public. One event saw Officer Miller volunteering to speak about his experiences, and his candid reflection on the loss of his own dog resonated deeply with attendees, sparking discussions about grief, healing, and the role of compassion in everyday life. Meanwhile, Olivia Reed, the local investigative journalist, continued to follow the ripple effects of the story. Her subsequent blog posts expanded the narrative by highlighting the broader implications of personal connection in the community. In one feature, she interviewed several local residents who recalled how stories of lost and found pets had always played a quiet role in shaping their memories of the town. "Max's story isn't just about a traffic stop," one longtime resident explained. "It's a reminder that our lives are interwoven with moments of unexpected kindness." Reed's work not only amplified the positive changes within the police department and the clinic, but also connected them with a larger movement advocating for more empathetic public institutions. Another subplot began to unfold when a local pet adoption agency noticed an uptick in inquiries and adoptions. Inspired by the heartwarming story of Max's reunion with his original owner, the agency, seizing the opportunity, launched a campaign under the banner "Find Your Forever Friend," encouraging community members to adopt stray animals. The campaign received widespread support and helped bring attention to the plight of many homeless pets, further cementing the narrative of compassion as a powerful force in the community. As these subplots interwove, both Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds found themselves navigating the pressures of public attention and personal expectations. Miller's superiors, while still cautious, began to appreciate the new direction his colleagues were advocating, a blend of strict law enforcement and genuine community engagement. Meanwhile, Reynolds balanced the success of the clinic with the ethical responsibility of safeguarding his personal life, especially now that his own story had become part of a broader public conversation. In this evolving landscape, Max, ever the silent, steadfast presence, continued to serve as the nexus of these connections. Whether it was through informal chats in the precinct, heart-to-heart conversations in the clinic, or community events in the local park, Max's story became a symbol of the transformative power of compassion. Each interaction, each shared memory, and every public forum contributed to a growing narrative that underscored the importance of embracing vulnerability and forging genuine human connections. Thus, as days turned into weeks, the initially isolated incident of a speeding vet and a tearful police officer blossomed into a multifaceted saga. It was a story where the personal and the professional converged, demonstrating that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can spark a movement, one that redefines community, reshapes institutions, and ultimately heals old wounds. As the narrative of the unexpected traffic stop and heartfelt reunion with Max continued to ripple through the community, the simmering internal conflicts and external pressures began to converge, setting the stage for a dramatic turning point. What had started as a surprising, even heartwarming encounter was now transforming into a contentious battleground where personal vulnerabilities, institutional expectations, and public opinion collided. At the police precinct, a growing divide was emerging within Officer James Miller's department. While younger officers and some forward-thinking supervisors admired Miller's willingness to show emotion and connect with the community on a personal level, a faction of veteran officers remained staunchly traditional. In a tense departmental meeting, a senior officer argued, "We must maintain our professionalism. Allowing personal feelings to influence our work may erode the discipline we depend on in critical situations." His words, delivered with the weight of years in uniform, struck a chord with some, causing murmurs of dissent among the ranks. Miller, who had already opened up about his personal loss, found himself defending his approach. "Our community isn't made up of faceless citizens," he said passionately. "It's comprised of individuals who deserve to be seen and heard, even if that means showing a little vulnerability." This impassioned defense highlighted a rift that was beginning to split the department, with each side increasingly entrenched in its views about the proper balance between empathy and enforcement. At the same time, the veterinary clinic where Dr. Adam Reynolds worked was facing its own internal storm. Although many staff members embraced Reynolds' compassionate style, some senior colleagues questioned whether blending personal sentiment with professional practice could undermine the clinic's reputation. During an intense staff meeting, a seasoned technician stated, "Our clients rely on us to provide objective, top-quality care. If our personal lives start dominating our work, where do we draw the line?" The debate escalated quickly, revealing deep-seated insecurities about professional identity and the fear that the emotional focus on Max might inadvertently detract from the clinic's medical standards. Dr. Reynolds found himself caught between defending his own choices and trying to reassure his team that compassion and competence could indeed coexist. "I rescued Max because I believe in the healing power of empathy," Reynolds declared. "Our personal experiences shape us, and if we lose that, we lose the very essence of why we do what we do." Meanwhile, the community was reacting with its own set of conflicts. Local media, spearheaded by investigative journalist Olivia Reed, had turned the story into a sensation. While many praised the touching reunion as evidence of the transformative power of personal bonds, critics emerged who dismissed the incident as a publicity stunt, a distraction from more pressing local issues. Heated debates unfolded on social media platforms, with hashtags like #MaxReturns and Duty and Compassion sparking discussions on whether law enforcement and professional integrity could truly embrace vulnerability without compromising their responsibilities. At a town hall meeting organized by community activist Mrs. Charlotte Green, voices clashed as residents expressed diverging views. Some argued that the story was a beacon of hope that humanized public institutions, while others cautioned that such emotional displays might blur the lines between professionalism and personal sentiment, potentially leading to unintended consequences. Amid these external pressures, both Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds were forced to confront the personal costs of their actions. Miller, haunted by the memory of his long-lost dog and now reconnected with Max, grappled with the resurgence of painful emotions he had long tried to bury. Late one night at the precinct, as he reviewed old photographs of his former companion, he confided in a trusted partner, "I'm not sure I'm ready to have these old wounds reopened, but seeing Max again, it's like a bittersweet reminder of what we've lost and what we stand to regain if we open our hearts." His confession underscored the personal stakes involved, and the vulnerability he displayed became a focal point for both admiration and concern among his peers. Dr. Reynolds, too, faced the heavy burden of reconciling his professional identity with the emotional resonance of the incident. In a quiet moment after the clinic closed for the day, he sat in his office surrounded by patient files and pictures of Max. "Every day, I'm reminded that our work isn't just about medicine. It's about making a difference in someone's life, sometimes in unexpected ways," he whispered to himself. Yet, he also worried about the long-term repercussions of blending personal attachment with professional duty, especially as his story began to dominate local headlines and shape public perception. As these internal and external conflicts reached a critical juncture, a defining moment arrived during a public forum held at the community center. In a packed auditorium filled with residents, law enforcement representatives, and medical professionals, the heated debates finally spilled over into a confrontation that demanded resolution. A veteran police officer stood up and asserted, "We must never let sentimentality override our duty." Yet, we also owe it to our community to recognize that compassion is not a weakness, it's what binds us together. His words ignited a passionate discussion, with voices from all sides chiming in about the need for balance. The forum reached its climax when Ms. Green proposed a bold initiative, the formation of a joint task force aimed at bridging the gap between law enforcement, the medical community, and local residents. "Let's create a space where our shared experiences, both the triumphs and the heartaches, can guide us towards a more unified approach to public service," she declared. The proposal was met with a mix of enthusiastic support and cautious skepticism, but it marked a turning point, a clear acknowledgement that the issues raised by the incident with Max were too significant to be dismissed as isolated events. As the forum ended and attendees filed out into the cool night air, the air was thick with anticipation. The combined force of internal debates, public outcry, and personal revelations had set the stage for decisive action. Both Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds, along with their respective communities, now faced the challenge of integrating these lessons into a new framework of understanding, a framework that would honor the past while forging a path toward a future where compassion and duty walked hand in hand. In the weeks following the extraordinary traffic stop, the ripple effects of the incident had grown into a local phenomenon, with the story of Officer James Miller's heartfelt reunion with his long-lost dog and Dr. Adam Reynolds' unexpected role in the encounter capturing widespread public attention. Tensions began to mount both within their respective institutions and throughout the community. It was now time for decisive confrontations, moments where personal truths and professional expectations clashed, paving the way for hard choices and bold new directions. At the police precinct, A specially convened meeting was held to address the growing debate over how much personal sentiment should factor into law enforcement. In a crowded briefing room, Officer Miller's supervisor, Captain Roberts, expressed concern. "We're a department built on discipline and clear boundaries," he stated firmly. "While I appreciate the positive community response to this case, we must ensure that our actions remain impartial and that personal feelings do not cloud our judgment." His words resonated with some of the older officers who worried that overt displays of emotion might undermine the department's authority. However, a group of younger officers, inspired by Miller's openness, argued passionately for a new approach. "Our community is evolving," one officer declared, "and so should we. Showing compassion and connecting with the public doesn't weaken us, it humanizes us and builds trust." The discussion grew heated, with voices rising on both sides. In a pivotal moment, Officer Miller himself stood up, his voice steady yet emotional. "I know the traditional way has its merits, but my experience with Max has shown me that empathy can be a powerful tool in bridging the gap between law enforcement and the community. We must find a balance, one where we enforce the law, but also recognize the human stories behind every call." His heartfelt testimony, punctuated by memories of his long-lost companion, swayed many in the room. Though the debate was far from settled, a decision was reached to pilot community engagement initiatives that allowed officers to interact more personally with residents, such as hosting pet-friendly events and participating in local gatherings. At Dr. Adam Reynolds' veterinary clinic, a parallel confrontation was unfolding. The incident had attracted both praise and scrutiny. While many clients and staff members celebrated the touching reunion, a faction of senior colleagues worried that the public focus on personal life might compromise the clinic's reputation for clinical excellence. In a tense staff meeting, one longtime nurse commented, "Our patients depend on us for objective, top-quality care. If our personal lives become too intertwined with our work, it might send the wrong message." "Doctor," Reynolds listened intently before responding with quiet conviction, "Max is not just my pet. He's a living example of the compassion we strive to provide every day. He reminds us that medicine is not just about clinical procedures. It's about caring for lives, in every sense of the word." The discussion was passionate and, at times, emotional. Eventually, the staff agreed to celebrate the clinic's human side by organizing a monthly Pet Appreciation Day, where clients, staff, and community members could share stories about their own beloved animals, reinforcing the clinic's commitment to compassionate care without detracting from its professional integrity. The turning point for both communities came when local media began organizing a town hall meeting. Held at the community center, the forum brought together residents, police representatives, medical professionals, and local business owners. The atmosphere was charged, as citizens demanded clarity on how institutions should balance duty with compassion in an era when personal narratives were increasingly intertwined with professional roles. Ms. Charlotte Green, a well-known community activist, took the stage to moderate the discussion. "Our community has witnessed something truly remarkable, a meeting point of law, medicine, and genuine human connection," she said. "Today we must decide how we honor that connection without compromising the integrity of our institutions. It is possible to be both disciplined and compassionate. We want to hear from everyone. How do we move forward in a way that serves our community best?" The forum quickly became a battleground of ideas. Some residents argued that personal vulnerability in public service was a strength that fostered trust, while others cautioned against blurring the lines between professional responsibilities and private emotions. Heated yet respectful exchanges unfolded. A local business owner remarked, "I want our police and medical services to be efficient, but I also believe that empathy should be part of that efficiency. We don't have to sacrifice one for the other." The debate was intense, yet slowly, a consensus began to emerge. The community expressed a strong desire for transparency, accountability, and a renewed focus on the human aspects of service. By the end of the forum, several key decisions were made. The town council agreed to support pilot projects for community engagement in law enforcement, while local business leaders and residents pledged to back initiatives like the Pet Appreciation Day at the clinic. Both groups committed to forming advisory panels that would monitor the balance between professional duty and personal connection, ensuring that future policies would reflect the community's values. As the meeting concluded and the crowd dispersed into the cool night air, Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds, though aware of the challenges ahead, felt a renewed sense of purpose. They recognized that the unexpected reunion with Max had become more than a chance encounter. It was a catalyst for change. Their individual paths were now intertwined with a broader community movement that celebrated the transformative power of empathy and personal connection. With these decisions driving them toward a new future, both the police department and the veterinary clinic stepped into a period of cautious optimism. They understood that their journey was only beginning, and that the delicate balance between duty and compassion would require continual dialogue, adaptation, and mutual support. The seed had been planted. Now it was up to them to nurture it into lasting change. As dusk turned to night and a cool breeze swept across the quiet country road, the tension that had been simmering over the past weeks reached a palpable peak. The story of Officer James Miller's emotional reunion with his long-lost dog, Max, and Dr. Adam Reynolds' unexpected role in the incident had transformed from a single traffic stop into a multifaceted debate on professionalism, compassion, and the role of personal vulnerability in public service. Now, with public forums, internal departmental meetings, and community discussions intensifying, every participant felt that a decisive turning point was near. In the precinct, a final internal meeting had been called in the early evening. The room was filled with a mix of skeptical senior officers and a growing contingent of younger, more empathetic colleagues. Captain Roberts, who had long been an advocate for strict discipline, now found himself conflicted. "We have always prided ourselves on our objectivity," he began, his voice echoing in the near-empty briefing room. "But recent events have shown that our community is calling for a different kind of service, one that embraces our human side without compromising our duty." His words, though hesitant, signaled a shift in the department's mindset. Officer Miller, sitting at the front, felt the weight of these expectations. His recent vulnerability, documented in internal reports and even shared in off-the-record conversations, was now under close scrutiny. He knew that the next steps would define not only his career, but also the department's evolving approach to community engagement. Meanwhile, at Dr. Reynolds' veterinary clinic, the air was equally charged. In a packed staff meeting held after hours, Dr. Reynolds presented a proposal to integrate regular pet appreciation sessions as a means to humanize the clinic's image and reaffirm its commitment to compassionate care. The proposal, however, was met with divided opinions. While many junior staff members and clients championed the idea, a few senior technicians and administrators warned that such personal displays might blur the line between professional service and private life, potentially impacting the clinic's reputation. "We need to maintain a balance," one senior staff member insisted, "or risk compromising our credibility." The debate grew heated, with voices rising in passionate disagreement as each side argued over the proper role of emotion in their professional practice. Outside of their respective institutions, the community's anticipation was reaching fever pitch. A well-attended town hall meeting had been scheduled at the local community center, where residents, law enforcement representatives, and medical professionals were expected to discuss how to best integrate the values of discipline and compassion. The hall was packed, the air thick with anxious energy as local media cameras captured every moment. Social media buzzed with hashtags like duty and compassion and Max returns, reflecting a community deeply divided yet united by the desire for a better future. As the meeting began, Mrs. Charlotte Green took the stage to moderate. "We stand at a crossroads tonight," she declared, her voice steady despite the palpable tension in the room. "Our institutions, our police department and our medical services are being called upon to evolve. We must find a way to honor our responsibilities while embracing the human connections that define us. We need answers, and more importantly, we need change." Her words resonated, but the air was heavy with unspoken questions and fears. Would embracing emotion undermine professionalism? Could strict discipline coexist with genuine compassion? In the midst of the town hall, heated exchanges erupted. A veteran officer from the police department, representing the traditional side, argued forcefully, "Our duty is clear: uphold the law, maintain order. While empathy is admirable, it must never compromise our ability to enforce it impartially." In contrast, a younger officer, echoing Miller's earlier sentiments, countered, "Our community is built on trust. If we ignore our own humanity, we risk alienating those we're meant to serve." The clash of perspectives reached a crescendo as voices rose and the debate grew louder with each passing minute. Simultaneously, an unexpected development added another layer of urgency. Olivia Reed, the investigative journalist who had followed the entire saga from the start, took the stage via live feed. With a calm yet intense expression, she announced that she had obtained exclusive internal communications from both the police department and Dr. Reynolds' clinic, indicating that there had been previous and unpublicized discussions about adopting a more community-oriented approach. "These documents," she stated, "suggest that the seeds of change were sown long before this incident, but only now have they come to fruition. The question is, will our institutions embrace this transformation, or will they cling to outdated notions of authority?" Her revelation sent shockwaves through the hall, adding a sense of urgency that nothing less than a comprehensive rethinking of public service would suffice. As the meeting drew to a close and the community's collective frustration and hope reached their zenith, all parties recognized that the coming days would be critical. The internal debates within the police department and the veterinary clinic had set the stage for dramatic policy changes. The community demanded accountability and a balance between discipline and compassion, a balance that, if achieved, could transform not only these institutions, but also the fabric of local public life. With the atmosphere charged, Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds, both standing as symbols of the evolving landscape, prepared to take the next steps. They knew that the next phase would force each of them to confront their deepest doubts and redefine their roles in the community. The tension was almost tangible, a promise that the coming confrontation would be decisive and that the fusion of duty and compassion might finally become the new standard. As the crisp night deepened and the community's demands reached a fever pitch, the stage was set for a moment that would irrevocably transform the local landscape of public service. At a specially arranged press conference in the town hall's packed auditorium, every eye was fixed on the speakers, each of whom was poised to reveal the culmination of months of internal debates, public pressure, and personal revelations. This was the moment when the balancing act between duty and compassion would finally be tested and redefined. Officer James Miller stepped forward first, his posture resolute, yet his eyes glistening with emotion. "I've served this community for years," he began, his voice firm despite the tremor of vulnerability. "But nothing could have prepared me for the day I rediscovered my lost companion, Max. That unexpected reunion changed everything for me. It opened my heart to the power of empathy, even in our most routine duties." He paused, taking a deep breath as the weight of his words sank in. "Today, I stand before you not just as an officer, but as a man who has learned that real public safety involves caring for the people and the animals of our community. I call on all of us to embrace that truth." The auditorium erupted in murmurs of approval, but the tension was far from dissipated. Next, Dr. Adam Reynolds, whose gentle manner and genuine regret had stirred both admiration and controversy at his clinic, took the stage. Holding the collar of Max in his hand, he spoke with measured emotion. "When I found Max wandering into my clinic, I acted out of compassion, never imagining that he would turn out to be more than just a stray dog. I discovered, through painful circumstances, that he was the very same dog lost by Officer Miller. I want you all to know that every action I took was driven by a belief that no creature should be left behind. Today, I offer my sincerest apologies for any unintended hardship my oversight may have caused. And I stand ready to work together to bridge the gap between our personal lives and our professional obligations." His voice, steady yet laden with sincerity, resonated deeply with many in the audience. At that moment, the tension in the room was punctuated by a sudden dramatic shift when Olivia Reed, the investigative journalist who had chronicled every twist of this saga, joined the live feed from her studio. With a calm yet intense expression, she announced, "I have just received new explosive documents from internal communications at both the police department and Dr. Reynolds's clinic. These documents reveal that discussions about embracing a more community-oriented approach were underway long before this incident became public. They confirm that many in our institutions have long been ready to blend duty with empathy, and that this turning point was inevitable." Her announcement, accompanied by screenshots and excerpts of the confidential memos, sent a ripple of astonishment through the crowd. The revelation suggested that both organizations had been silently evolving, even as they clung to traditional methods. As the evidence unfolded, a hush fell over the audience. The leaked memos detailed plans for community outreach initiatives, internal training on emotional intelligence, and proposals for joint projects between law enforcement and the veterinary clinic. One particularly damning memo read, "We must integrate compassion into our core operations. Failure to do so will only widen the gap between us and the people we serve." The documents were irrefutable, painting a picture of internal conflict and gradual change that had been simmering beneath the surface. With the new evidence laid bare, Ms. Charlotte Green, the community activist who had been the force behind the Town Hall's organization, took the microphone. "This is our moment," she declared, her voice ringing out across the auditorium. "The time has come for us to break free from outdated notions of impersonal authority. Today, we have witnessed that even in our most disciplined institutions, compassion can flourish. We must now move forward, united in our commitment to both uphold the law and nurture the human connections that bind us as a community." The room erupted in applause and fervent cheers. In that electrifying moment, Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds exchanged a look, a silent acknowledgement of the personal risks they had taken and the profound changes they were willing to champion. Their journey from routine duty to public vulnerability had not only redefined their roles, but had also inspired a shift in public policy. The newly unveiled evidence would soon force the police department and the clinic to implement pilot programs that combined traditional protocols with community outreach, marking the beginning of a new era in public service. As the conference concluded, the first light of dawn began to seep through the tall windows, casting a hopeful glow over the assembled crowd. Outside, the atmosphere was charged with the promise of change. Max, who had been a silent witness to the entire ordeal, lay peacefully by Officer Miller's side, an enduring symbol of resilience and the transformative power of unexpected reunions. In that decisive, cathartic moment, every person present felt the profound impact of merging duty with compassion. The community, now more united than ever, left the town hall with a renewed commitment to fostering an environment where professionalism and empathy could coexist harmoniously. It was a climax that not only resolved the immediate conflict, but also paved the way for lasting reforms, a promise that the lessons learned that day would forever change the fabric of the community. As the dust settled on a day that had unexpectedly reshaped lives and redefined community values, the quiet country roads and local institutions of Maplewood found themselves forever transformed. In the weeks that followed the unforgettable traffic stop, where Officer James Miller and Dr. Adam Reynolds were thrust into the spotlight by an unforeseen reunion with Max, the community slowly began to stitch together a new narrative, one that honored both duty and compassion, blending strict professionalism with the warm and unspoken bonds that connect us as human beings. In the precinct, the internal debates that had once threatened to split the department eventually evolved into meaningful change. Officer Miller's vulnerability, once seen as an anomaly, became a catalyst for a new training program emphasizing community engagement and emotional intelligence. Younger officers, inspired by his candid reflections, started participating in initiatives that bridged the gap between law enforcement and local residents. Over time, even the skeptical veterans began to acknowledge that true public safety was not solely about enforcing rules, it was also about understanding and connecting with the people they served. The department slowly integrated these lessons into its core values, ushering in a culture where compassion was seen not as a liability, but as an asset in building trust and resilience. At the same time, Dr. Adam Reynolds' veterinary clinic experienced a subtle yet profound transformation. The incident, which had initially drawn mixed reactions from staff and clients alike, gradually became a point of pride. Dr. Reynolds organized monthly pet appreciation days that allowed his team and clients to share personal stories about the healing power of animal companionship. These gatherings not only boosted morale, but also reasserted the clinic's commitment to blending clinical excellence with heartfelt care. Patients came to see the clinic as a place where professionalism and genuine empathy coexisted, a space where even a routine speeding ticket could lead to a celebration of life's most precious bonds. Max, the gentle dog at the center of it all, emerged as an enduring symbol of hope and continuity. His presence was a daily reminder to both Officer Miller and Dr. Reynolds that sometimes fate offers second chances. Locals began to recognize Max as more than just a pet. He was a beacon of resilience, a silent testament to the power of love and a living bridge between two very different worlds. Community members often gathered at Maplewood Dog Park to catch a glimpse of him resting peacefully under the old oak tree, a spot that had come to symbolize the renewal of hope in the face of adversity. Media coverage, led by the insightful reporting of Olivia Reed, played a pivotal role in cementing the impact of the story. Reed's articles and video segments not only chronicled the emotional journey of Miller, Reynolds, and Max, but also sparked broader discussions about the role of empathy in public service. Her work spurred community forums, town hall meetings, and even academic discussions at local universities about how personal experiences can drive institutional change. The hashtag #MaxReturns continued to trend locally, uniting residents in a shared narrative of healing and transformation. Local government, buoyed by the public outcry and the compelling evidence presented during the town hall meetings, took steps to ensure that the lessons learned would have lasting effects. An independent advisory panel was established, comprising community leaders, law enforcement representatives, and healthcare professionals, with the mandate to review and revise policies to foster both accountability and empathy. These reforms aim to create a future where the personal and professional could coexist harmoniously, ensuring that the heartfelt stories behind every encounter were not lost amid rigid bureaucracy. As the months passed, the tangible effects of these changes became evident. Officer Miller's patrols began to incorporate community outreach activities, and his department's new initiatives helped build bridges between law enforcement and local residents. At Dr. Reynolds' clinic, the renewed focus on compassionate care led to an increase in patient satisfaction and trust, with many clients noting that the personal touch made all the difference during stressful times. In quiet moments, as the sun set over Maplewood and the gentle hum of community life resumed, both Miller and Reynolds reflected on how one unexpected traffic stop had grown into a movement that reshaped not just their lives, but the entire fabric of their community. They recognized that while the journey had been fraught with challenges and emotional turmoil, it had ultimately ushered in a new era, where duty and compassion were no longer at odds, but were woven together to create a stronger, more connected society. Before closing, they each issued a call to action for their community. Officer Miller encouraged fellow citizens to embrace empathy in all aspects of life, reminding them that every encounter is an opportunity to connect and heal. Dr. Reynolds urged pet owners and professionals alike to let their compassion shine through, to value the personal bonds that make their work so rewarding. As Maplewood moved forward, the story of a speeding vet, an empathetic officer, and a devoted dog became a timeless reminder that even in our most routine moments, life can surprise us, offering second chances and inspiring lasting change. The reunion of Max with his owner was not merely a twist of fate, but a beacon of hope for a future where every act of kindness is celebrated and every heart is given the chance to heal.